Hello, good evening friends. God bless you. And today I wanted to share with you my own quest of two of the questions that I was struggling with. Number one was, does God speak with us? And number two was, if God is speaking to me, how I can make sure that it is God and not devil. And I look into the scriptures, I talked with some scholars, and then I came to this realization that no, the scripture is, Bible is full of the scriptures where it is evident that God does talk with us. It is just like our TV or radio antenna. Until you tune that particular channel or the station, you cannot hear the radio or the announcer, or that you cannot watch any particular program. It is already in the air, but you have to tune it. I came to reading Genesis chapter 15, and in that particular chapter, God executed a covenant with Abraham. You got to read that story. But in that story, one thing caught my eye. I have read that story so many times, but I did not pay attention to this particular scenario, where it says that in the evening, the great sleep fall on Abraham and the deep darkness came over him. God spoke to him. Now, how God would have spoke to Abraham, or how Abraham could have heard when he was sound sleeping, I don't know. I cannot explain. But it leads me to a conclusion that when Abraham was in a sound sleep, he was totally defenseless. His mind was not wandering anywhere. He was totally at still state. And I believe that when we sit down from our busyness, our rushing life, and we carve out a time and sit in front of God, God is talking to us 24/7. But then when we become still and quiet, we can hear what God is saying. And it is evident that Abraham heard. Scripture says that God spoke to him, and Abraham must have heard. How? I don't know. But I think it is a personal experience that we all have to try and sit down in front of God, and we can hear Him. Scripture is very clear that nature and all the creation speaks about the glory of God. How many times we have stopped at a sunrise or sunset, or look at the birds or the cloud and try to understand that they are speaking about the goodness and glory of God. It leads me to second question, that if God is speaking with me, if I'm hearing, how would I make sure that it is not devil and God? The number one thing is that God is a very gentle God. You see in 1 King, if you read chapter 18, I believe, God appeared to Elijah, but he was not in a lightning, he was not in a thunder, he was not in the rumbles, but very gentle whispering voice he heard. God is a very gentle God. He will not talk with you violently, but very gentle whisper sound you will hear. And then the peace. God is God of peace. So if God is telling you something, whether to take a job or move some other place or make some decision, and you are hearing from God, and the question comes whether it is God or devil, then if that action does not bring a peace, then it probably may not be from God. But if it is bringing you peace, that particular course of action which you are going to take, if it brings you peace, then it is from God. The second part, God will never tell you to do something that is against Scripture. God's instruction or God's direction for your life will be always consistent to the Scriptures. And the last part is, God will never tell you to do something that is against his character. God is love. God hates sin, not the sinners. We know John 3:16 very well. But John 3:17 says that he came to save the world, not to condemn. God doesn't condemn. Yes, one day he will judge the world, but right now we are living under grace. And it's not the time of judgment. God came to save the world, not to condemn it. So, any action, God would never tell you to rob a bank, or God will never tell you to commit crime. God will never tell you to hurt somebody. God will never tell you to do certain things that is against his character and against the scripture. So, I think you can take this journey on your own and find out that if God is speaking with you, if you have to make some decisions, whether to take a job, whether to go somewhere or do certain things, and you are struggling to figure out whether it is from God or not, then if it is bringing you peace, it is from God. If it is consistent with the scriptures, it is from God. And it is consistent with the character of God, then it is from God. May God bless you. Thank you.